right, welcome everybody to Studio de Jeffrey. I'm Jeff Cavanaugh. Thank you for hanging out with me. Please hit the like and subscribe button. That's what people say, right? Today's exercise, as I promised yesterday, today's exercise is going to be Dallas Cowboys free agency and draft plans. We're going to stack up the needs, and we are going to talk about what I believe is the right plan, the best plan for how you're going to try to win the Super Bowl. It does all start with Dak, but we talked about Dak yesterday, so I'm going to spend very little time on it. One of two things is going to happen. One, Dak's going to get a contract extension to bring his cap number for this year way down. Or two, they're going to restructure and move some of his money out of the way to bring it down less, but give themselves a chance to say, no, it's all in for you, Mr. Quarterback Man, because we haven't won yet. So we're not going to do the most we can to get things around you, because we want to be able to get rid of you. But either way, Dak's contract is going to be used to save money, because right now we're $20 million over the cap, and we got to use Dak to get either just under or considerably under, depending if they extend or blah, blah, blah. We're going to extend CeeDee Lamb. We're going to restructure Tank Lawrence and Zach Martin, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to end up with either some money or a good amount of money to sign free agents. So we take a look at the Cowboys roster now, and we say, all right, tell me, Jeff, about the free agency and what the Cowboys should do. So here's what we're going to do. I'll start with a question from a fine gentleman on X, formerly known as Twitter. Where do you fall on using the first rounder on a high-value position versus one of the positions of need this year? Could argue they look pretty good at quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback. I copy and pasted the wrong tweet there, which is a great start to a video. We'll get to that question later. The one that I meant to copy and paste was the one about their team needs. That one works for it. So their positions of need in order. First and second in some order is offensive line and corner, because if we're talking position of need, I'm talking about places where I'm missing a starter. And at the moment, the Cowboys are missing a starter at left tackle, at center, and at corner. So technically, those are our biggest needs. Now, I would also argue that they're not good or deep enough at all at linebacker or defensive tackle. I'm not in love with wide receiver too. They probably need a running back. So that's the broad overview. I'm missing a starting left tackle, a starting center. I am missing a starting cornerback, and I need help at linebacker, defensive tackle, probably running back. So we go onward. I'm going to start not at the very top of the list, and I'm going to do that for a reason. Part of what matters in free agency is, what does the free agency class look like in each position group? And the answer at a couple of them is really, really, really good. I want to start with linebacker. Right now, what do the Cowboys have? Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown. That's what you got. You need 5 to make the team. They got a couple. So we need some. Here's the good news. There are so many ways you could do this for the Cowboys in free agency. If you want a big splash free agent, you could do that at linebacker. Patrick Queen, there's your dude. Free agent out of Baltimore. They've paid a lot of other guys and Roquan Smith. You want to pay $18 million a year to get you a real nice linebacker? You could do that. You want to go lower than that? And there's so many ways you could do linebacker. Let me see, how many are in the top? I'm using Pro Football Focus's top 200 free agents, but in the top 100 at linebacker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different linebackers in their top 100 free agents. So there's a bunch of names, and there's a bunch of ways we could do this. Probably the biggest money guys that are going to get the biggest contracts at linebacker. You're talking about Patrick Queen. You're talking about Jordan Brooks out of Seattle. And you're talking about Frankie Louvu in Carolina. 3 different guys that are all a little bit different players, but those are probably the guys that'll get the reasonably big contracts as linebackers in free agency. Carolina man Frankie, Not a great coverage guy, but he's wonderful at everything else. Rushing the passer, coverage ability. Or I'm sorry, let me flip that. Not great at coverage. Wonderful pass rusher, wonderful run defender. For a team that struggled with the downhill part of playing linebacker and didn't have enough guys to do it, if you're looking for somebody who is very proven at doing that, bam. Patrick Queen's wonderful. You get Patrick Queen, great. Jordan Brooks in Seattle was asked to do a ton in coverage. Solid pass rusher, 3-down player, nice player. So those are the 3 top guys. But then there are so many dudes that either just kind of had their first good year or a breakout year, or older guys who aren't washed yet. There's a million ways to go at linebacker. And for a team that needs multiple, here's what I would do if I were the Cowboys. Linebacker's probably not the spot where I would make my biggest signing, but I'm signing at least 2 out of the group. So other names that you should consider that are linebacker free agents. Lavonte David, he's 34 years old, played in Tampa Bay. He's not who he was, but he is still capable of doing everything that linebackers do, every part of it. Used to be incredible coverage guy. Now he's still a very smart thinker of the game, can get all over the field. Lavonte David will be a solid player. His projected contract, 1 year, $5 million. That's the sort of thing that if you're, quote, all in, cool. Get you some older vets that are just plugging a gap that you know you can rely on. May not be Pro Bowlers, but I know I can rely on you to do the job of an NFL starter. Bam, Lavonte David. Bobby Wagner is the other version of Lavonte David. He's older. He's 33. He's not the athlete that he was, but he's a smart football player. He's going to make plays in the run. He plays hard as hell. Bobby Wagner, Lavonte David, 1 year, $5 million projected for David, 1 year, $4 million projected for Bobby Wagner. I'm signing one of those 2. One of the veteran guys that is going to be a 1-year guy, that is not going to break the bank, that I know I can depend on. Done. I'm putting that in the room with Damone Clark and Overshone. And then I'm picking one more guy off this list. And names that you could consider, what do you want the guy to do? You looking for a thumper? You looking for a run player that's not really a coverage player? Azeez Al-Shire in Tennessee? Thumper. Play the run. Not a great coverage guy, but if our goal is to have different pieces that can do different things and guys that we can rely upon to actually battle offensive linemen, play the run well, react, sweet. Josie Jewell. He's 29 now, and he's just a solid player. He's not going to blow you away in any part of the game, but you're also not going to watch the tape and go, man, I just wish that he could cover. You can do that. I wish he could rush. You can do that. I wish he wasn't getting his butt kicked in the run game. He can play the run. And he's been green dot guy. He's been called the defense guy. Josie Jewell's projected contract, 2 years, $6.25 per. I can do that. Blake Cashman in Houston just had a breakout season. He's always been a guy that could kind of rush the passer, but he showed a little bit of everything last year in his first year in Houston. Projected contract, 2 years, $4.25 per. Drew Tranquil, Kansas City. Coverage guy. Doesn't really hold up against the run. Projected contract, 2 years, $3.38 million. Jordan Hicks, Minnesota, 31 years old. Another thumper guy. We want to play the run? No problem. We want to cover? Problem. Projected contract, 1 year, $4 million. Willie Gay, Kansas City, wonderful athlete, can run and hit, has come along a little bit in other parts of the game. Projected contract, 1 year, $3.75 million. So what does Jeff do? Here's what Jeff does if he's the Cowboys. At linebacker, I signed Josie Jewell just to know that I have a reliable guy that doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. So I just signed him for 2 years, $12.5 million total. And take your pick of Bobby Wagner or Lavonte David for a 1-year guy that is a ship steadier that I can rely on throughout the year. And bam, I now went from having a linebacker room where I literally only have 2 guys in it to where I have a linebacker room that has Damone Clark started a lot of games. I'd be bringing in 2 guys who have started a lot of games. Overshone's coming off of an injury, and what he brings me and what he brought last year in camp that looked good can fit in where it fits in. Bam. and then I need another linebacker to make the team. But now my linebacker room is good, and I didn't spend that much. You'll probably have 30 to 40 million to play with. Linebacker just took up in 2024 with what I've done, 8 of it, give or take. So a little bit, but we took one of our biggest weaknesses, and we're cool now. Next position we need to go to is I'm going to go to defensive tackle because much like linebacker, this is the other spot where it's uniquely good this year. If you are looking at free agents, 12 free agents of the top 100, according to Pro Football Focus, play defensive tackle. So again, we don't have to go to the top of the market. We can just go find a guy. Because right now, here's what you got at defensive tackle if you're the Cowboys. Oso Digizua, Mozzie Smith, the end. That's your D tackles. So once again, I have to fill out a roster. So if I'm looking for guys to throw in there, now if you want to go top of market, Chris Jones out of Kansas City is out there. You're going to spend $30 million a year. Justin Madubuike is out of Baltimore, is out there. You're going to spend $20 million a year or more. Christian Wilkins out of Miami is out there. You're going to spend $20 million a year. Leonard Williams is out there. You're going to spend up towards there. I've told you, my guy is DJ Reader out of Cincinnati, 330 pounds, monster. Also has some pass rush. He did tear a quad in week 15, so that might impact his market, and you got to make sure that you think that he's going to be ready. But I really, really like the player. But you could go further down and look for other guys that could be stopgaps for a year or two that play defensive tackle. This group, Chris Jones, Madubuike, Wilkins, Leonard Williams, DJ Reader, Grover Stewart out of Indianapolis, Sheldon Rankins out of New York, 2023 was with Houston. Tart in Tennessee, Fletcher Cox, Daquan Jones out of Buffalo. My flyer. So I'd like them to sign a big body guy to pair with Mozzie, just a random veteran. Probably find one on this list. Ashawn Robinson, Raekwon Davis, a guy that's a guy that could be the other guy that can kind of play the nose. Here's my flyer because it would be on the cheap, and we're just hoping to get lucky. Maurice Hurst. He was in Cleveland last year. He played 300 snaps before he got hurt. Shocking because he gets hurt every year. But that's why you would get him for somewhere around league minimum. He'd be a $2 million player or less. And Maurice Hurst, he's such an explosive dude that can get after quarterbacks and make plays with the athleticism and just with the way that he can get off the ball and move. That's my flyer guy. So far in free agency, what has Jeff done? Jeff has signed Josie Jewell and did I go Bobby Wagner or Levante David? Bobby Wagner and Josie Jewell. I signed 2 linebackers. I'm signing Maurice Hurst on the cheap at defensive tackle. And I would go DJ Reader, and that would probably be my biggest free agency ad. So I added a big boy that's not just doing big boy jobs. I'm adding Maurice Hurst for juice at defensive tackle if he's healthy. And now I've got 4 guys there, and we might find another one to put on the roster, but we're good to go. I'm good to go at linebacker. I'm good to go at defensive tackle. I still got me some monies. And now we move on down the road. Next position group that we want to address is, I'll tell you what I'm doing at offensive tackle because that one's easy. My offensive tackle at left tackle is Tyron Smith. Thanks for stopping by. 1 year, $10 million. Done. Center is where we're going to get tricky because I don't love the free agency market. One of the best guys in the free agency market is Tyler Biadasz. You might bring him back. 2 years, $14 million, just throwing out numbers. You might bring Biadasz back. Maybe internally you think Brock Hoffman or TJ Bass could do the job and that you're not desperate. So the center one is one of my wild cards at the moment. You could talk me into bringing back Biadasz. You could easily convince me that we want to use a draft pick early on a center for the next 4 to 5 years. And in that case, it would just require that you believe Hoffman or Bass can do that job if the draft doesn't fall your way, because I'm not going to go reaching for a center. But center, offensive tackle, both of those are things that you're looking at early in the draft, if the scenario is right for you, or if you want to move around to get it done. Those two, we can do that there. Now, we are not going to ignore if we have a best available player at a different position that we could use. We're not going to ignore that. If there's a corner, receiver, defensive line, whatever. We're trying to pick the best players. But in the back of my mind, I am thinking, man, I would like offensive line help in the draft. Tyron will be my left tackle. Center, maybe Biotish, or maybe I live risky and think one of my young guys could man it, and I'm looking for a guy in the draft to take their jobs, and we can do it that way. Running back, once again, I don't want to mess with the free agents at running back. Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, Pollard will probably get a decent payday. I ain't doing that, but I also don't love what I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to roll with Rico and Deuce and Malik Davis and Hunter Lipke, the guy's already on the roster, and I'm going to draft a guy in the middle of the draft. And if it's the right player, hell, you might use a second rounder on a running back. If you wanted to take Blake Corum out of Michigan, if you wanted to take Jonathan Brooks out of Texas in the second round, okay. But you can see why I'm prioritizing two giant positions of weakness, defensive tackle and linebacker. The free agency classes, the players available, and how much money I'm going to have to spend lines up, that I can fix those there. I can fix those there with some things that are long-term, some things that are short, and then I can be ready to be eyeballing that draft and thinking, okay, running back, receiver, offensive line. I'm looking at all of you guys, and I'm going to handle you right there. So that handles what? That handles everything, right? Corner, I would probably just bring Jordan Lewis back on the cheap, and now I'm squared away with my starters. And we can play around in the draft and free agency with whatever we want to add. So left tackle, Tyron. Corner, Jordan. Center, unknown. Center's my wild card at the moment. Defensive tackle, free agency. Linebacker, free agency. Bam. That's the Cowboys offseason plan. And you can add all that up. Tyron Smith, $10 million. Jordan Lewis, $3 or $4 million. DJ Reader, 15 a year, which means that the first year would probably count as 8 or 9. So that's what, 8 or 9 plus 10 plus 4. I'm at like 23. 4 for Bobby Wagner. I'm at 27. Hurst, 2. I'm at 29. And I'm missing, Josie Jewell, first year probably counts as 4. So I'm looking at spending about $33 million, which once you extend CeeDee Lamb and extend Dak Prescott and restructure people, I can do every bit of that and still have a little bit to spend. So that's my Cowboys free agency look. You let me know what you like. Also, let me know if you made it to this point in the timestamp by telling me, what is your favorite cheese? Yep. All right. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Remember, you have no idea what anyone's going through, so be cool to everyone. I love you. Be easy.